calls and sharing all my nuggets. So I don't hesitate to, like, if I'm talking and you have a question, feel free to interrupt me, or you can use the chat, whatever you guys prefer. You guys can see me good? It's kind of like weird lighting in my living room. Okay. All right. So I'll just start off just like 5 minutes, share a little bit about me and my story, because I think this will tie really well into what I wanted to talk about tonight. So like Ali said, my name is Leah Lewis. I have been a coach for 3 years, actually it's October. So 3 years this month, 3 years officially, like with Beachbody last month, but yeah, 3 years coaching. And I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. I have a 8-year-old daughter, and I have 6-year-old twins. I'm married. I live in central New Jersey. And I kind of just fell into coaching. Like many of people in this network, we didn't necessarily, grow up and say, I wanted to be a Beachbody coach. I kind of had, I would say, like a picture perfect life, right? I went to college. I had really good grades. I went to a good school. I was, really, like a perfectionist, always striving to do better in my life. Got a really good job out of college. We bought a house. I got married. We had kids. I had a really good, well-paying job in corporate America in insurance industry. And on paper, everything seemed perfect. But really, after I had my twins, I was just really drowning in postpartum depression, anxiety. Everything seemed picture perfect, and I put on this really big face like life was great, but my marriage was struggling. We were in like $60,000 of credit card debt, and life just, was a repeat cycle. And the way I describe this is like it was like a hamster wheel. I couldn't wait to get home every night after work, get my kids to bed, to sit on that couch, to watch my Grey's Anatomy and my Vampire Diaries, and like drink my wine and eat some nachos and like just pretend like life didn't exist. Because in that 1 or 2 hours every night when I had a couple too many glasses to drink of wine and I was just vegging, I felt like I was like in that, in those TV shows, and like life just didn't exist, right? And then I would wake up and yeah, life happened again, right? So that's a little bit about my story. I actually went on a trip to Disney in August 3 years ago. I made this like really impulsive decision to book a trip to Disney because I was really like, depressed, and I felt like going to Disney would be like the thing that would cure it. Like I would spend all this money and I would come back and I'd be happy. And I remember feeling so miserable in my own skin at Disney. Like my legs were like rubbing against each other, and it was like I had like a rash, and I was so hot and out of shape, and I just felt so embarrassed and ashamed of how I felt inside that when I got back from that vacation, I actually saw a post of one of my friends that I work with about, how she's sharing about her journey, and she was a mom and she had 3 kids and she looked amazing. And so I'm sure like you guys, you saw a post from your coach, from Ali, and you're like, I don't know what she's doing, but like, I need to do what she's doing. And I just remember the smile on her face, that it just, I didn't even know anything about what she was doing, but I wanted what she had. Like I wanted to feel how happy she looked in her pictures, that I said like, yes. And I was one of those people that was not my typical customer that was like, sign me up. I don't know what it is. I'll buy it. I'll do it right now. Right. That was, and then the rest was history. Right. So, I started my journey on Facebook. Instagram, obviously Instagram was around 3 years ago, but it was definitely not something that coaches were really using in the network to grow their business. So everything I learned was through Facebook. So what I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit tonight was I'm going to just give you a little bit of an overview. So I'm going to talk about what to post, when to post, how to talk to your person or your avatar, how to expand your network, how to form relationships or create engagement, how to create a funnel, and inviting, follow-ups, breadcrumbs. If there's anything else that you guys want, I'm going to try to keep this to an hour because I'm like, I can talk, right? But, so first and foremost, okay, what to post. So I know that most of you guys, tell me if this is correct, most of you guys all use Instagram, right? Okay. So, I am an Instagram newbie, right? But what I am learning about Instagram, having really dug into it in learning from people like Allie and other people that are really rocking it, is that Instagram is so much about the image, right? It's so much about the photo. It's so much about like just the feel that you get when you go to someone's page, visually. It's a visual stimulation. And from that visual, obviously the content, the words are all important. But what pulls you in is the photo, okay? Facebook is the opposite, really. Pictures are important, but what's really important about Facebook is the content. It's the words that you use. So the reason why I told you my story is because that's really like in a nutshell, right? This very, what I talked to you guys about is really actually not that specific, right? I gave you like overall general details about my story. But on Facebook, you really want to get really specific about your story. You want to talk about circumstances, an actual specific event. Like when I went to Disney, I made a post actually last week and I like talked about specifically that time that I was in Disney and how I felt, right? So it's the words that you use that are really going to pull people in. If you're already making great photos on Instagram, then just use those on Facebook. Then those are just going to be added bonus because the photos obviously are going to catch your attention on Facebook. But Facebook was designed to be a social platform. So it was created, and the algorithms have changed a ton for sure over the last couple years. But currently, the way that the algorithms are working is that Facebook really wants you to be social, right? It wants you to connect. It wants you to talk. It wants you to actually engage in conversation in your posts. So when you're writing a post, when you're sharing, you want it to create, you want there to be some type of question or something that's going to engage people, okay? So that's just like kind of like an overview of what to post. So for instance, what I post and what I teach my coaches is I actually create a posting schedule. So you may do this already on Instagram, right? But you want to vary your content so that you're posting a combination of, right, what you're doing, being a proof of the products, right? Whether you're sharing your workouts or something about Shakeology or your meal plan, that your life, you being a product is being shared throughout your week, okay? And making sure obviously that that sharing is value driven, right? You're sharing it with purpose, not just a post like a selfie of yourself saying I just crushed my workout, right? You want to maybe share a picture of you crushing your workout, but telling a story about how proud you feel that you just crushed that workout because of, like your story in the past, right? So giving them pieces of your story in the past and combining that with what you're sharing currently. So what I like to do is at least 3 times a week, I'm going to share something like either a workout clip or sometimes in the past I've done like short little live videos, but whether it's a picture of me working out or once a week I try to make a point to do something about Shakeology. but there's product driven, right? At least a couple times a week. The rest of maybe another 3 times a week, I'm going to make sure I'm just sharing my lifestyle, right? So I'm sharing who I am. And this is where I know on Instagram, we kind of train the same way. Like a lot of, someone asked a question, Allie shared some questions, is those 5 things about you. So when you're a new coach, you're taught to, like, what are the things that make you you, right? What are your hobbies, your interests? What are those things that you're going to share about? The same on Facebook. You know, if you're a mom, right? Or you have like a passion for, I don't know, running, or passion for cooking, or I know you like to knit or something like that. Whatever those things are, you're going to share that. And so they're going to get to know who you are, right? I know from just a short period of time of watching some of Allie's clips, like I know she freaking loves Energize, like, right? Like her mom crack is like, that's all there, right? I know that's one thing specifically. I know she loves Dunkin' Donuts. She makes sure that everybody knows she always, it's like, that's her thing, because that's going to connect you with other people. So the same applies on Facebook. But it can be not just visual. It could be talking. It could be just in words too, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be a picture, but when you're sharing your story, you want to make sure those things that you want people to remember you are always weaved into those in your stories. So it's through words too. And a lot of the things that I like to, we'll talk about this later on with engagement, but a lot of the things that I like to share about my lifestyle, I make sure that I create those in engagement posts, and we'll talk about what that means. But really, it's more like I'm a mom, and so I want to make sure that I'm connecting with other moms. When I'm creating an engagement post, I'm normally going to share more of that lifestyle type of stuff. And I'll tell you what that means in a little bit. So if you're like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay. So Instagram is kind of like 1 post a day, sometimes 2. Facebook is at least 2 times a day kind of routine, sometimes 3. It can be at least 2 to 3. We used to teach like 3 to 5 times a day. That was like the ideal. The algorithms have changed, so you definitely want to be posting more than once a day, which Instagram's kind of like 1 to 2. So 2 times at minimum a day, and you want to find the right times for your tribe. So it's a little bit difficult to figure that out. It's kind of just trial and error. There's no kind of like apps or anything like that where there might be for Instagram. What you want to kind of do is kind of think about your avatar, and when do you go, or before you started coaching, when did you go on your phone and do your scrolls? You know, when did you start surfing and watching everybody else? And think about that. So for me, it's changed because my lifestyle has changed too. But when I was working a corporate job, you know, my scroll, my early morning post was always between like 7 and 8 a.m., you know. Now for me, my mornings are kind of, I don't get a lot of engagement in the mornings, to be honest. So I kind of always do like a lunchtime post, and then like my night posts are like the time. Like that's kind of like when moms are online on Facebook, anywhere between like 8 and 9, 9:30, 10. It all depends. There's a lot of younger women that are on my team that aren't moms. And so their tribes may be a little bit later. Sometimes they're like between like 9 and 11 p.m. because I don't know, that's just the younger single generation. They're just on a little bit later, right? So what I did at the beginning is I would post at a certain time for 1 week, and I would see if like that was a good time. And if I didn't get a lot of engagement, then I would post a little bit later, and I would see if that would get for the second week. Did that get a good time? Another thing that you can do is if you have the Facebook Messenger app on your phone, if you pull up the app right now, and you look under your messages, there's kind of like 4 different columns. There's messages, and it says a button that actually says active, and it gives you a number. So it tells you how many people are currently active on Facebook Messenger. It's not exact science, but that means that at least that many people are also on Facebook if they're on their phone. So it gives you a little bit of an idea. And what I do now is I always look at that and I'll say like, okay, so for right now, mine says 492. That there's actually a lot of people on right now. Monday nights are always like my night to post, Mondays and Tuesdays. So that's like right now would be a perfect time for me to do a post. And then I look and see. And then it looks like if there was 300 people right now, I would wait and I would come back in 10 minutes and I would check, like, is this the right timing for me to post? Because just like Instagram, it's going to only send your post. When you post on Facebook, it's only going to send it to a certain percentage of your friends. I think it's somewhere around like 5%. So 5% of your Facebook friends are actually going to see your post. The way that more of your friends are going to see it is if there's engagement on your post. Okay? Engagement based on Facebook's definition is comments, not just likes. Likes help, but when there's comments, when people use GIFs or people use I don't know, any of the actual features that Facebook has besides just likes, then your posts are going to get boosted out to more of your friends. Okay? So something that's really important to do too is if you start getting comments on your posts, to comment back. You should comment back on every single comment that you get. And if it can even be something where you're creating questions or conversation in your post, that's even better. And it doesn't even matter if it's like one person, right? Because once some conversation gets started, Facebook sees like someone likes your post and they're interacting, so they're going to shoot it out to more people. I think, let me see questions. All right, get to these in a second. So it's really important that you're creating some type of post that is, like I said, going to create engagement. All right, we talked about when to post. Okay, so what type of content to post, and then how to post. Okay, so I already talked to you a little bit about this. Like, story is so big on Facebook. It's the thing that connects us, and actually I am sure you guys might have seen Leadership was like a week or was it last week? About a week and a half ago. My coach was at Leadership and she shared with us a video clip of one of the guest speakers that was there. And it was all about telling your story, right? And how really story is what connects us as people, right? It's the things that we remember that make us like have an image or a visual ingrained. So when someone knows your story, like details of that story, that is going to allow them to connect with you. So what I always like to share with my coaches is when you're starting your story, make sure that you are creating some type of language at the very beginning that's catching, right? That's going to catch someone in. Like I made a post one time. Let me see if I can get one here. Save draft. One second. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. I can't find it. Anyway, I started a post like, I remember the exact language, but it was something like that time when I made myself throw up in the bathroom, and it was like ... right? And then it went into the story about like, you know, how when I was in college and I was like really struggling with like my weight, and it was the first time that I had ever made myself throw up. And anorexia, bulimia isn't really my story, but that is something that happened, and that is something that I did. And those words like are gonna be like, oh my gosh, you want to read that, right? Like it's really engaging. Like I know kind of putting them in your story, but like not like once, 3 years ago before I started coaching, which sometimes I do catch myself still starting those, but the day that I made that decision was the best decision of my life. Cut that to like something that's verbally like already catching their attention about your story, and using that as what you're starting with. And then you want to really set the image. Like you want to like explain to them like where you were, like so that they can feel like that story, and you want to use, emotion. So like how you felt, where you were, what you were doing, kind of thinking of it like a fairy tale, right? Like there's always like a beginning, which was like pre-Beachbody. How did you feel? What was it about your story that you were so desperately needing to change, right? And then what did you actually do? What did you change? What did you commit to? How did that make you feel? Emotion is so important to be able to explain in your story and connect you when you're sharing, especially in that middle part, about what are your fears. And I like to always teach my coaches to talk about your fears, talk about you before you started. Like, what are those things like just that cause you to not want to start maybe? What were your hesitations, your fears, and talk about those, whether those are even fully. Sometimes I like make up things a little bit because I know the objections of my current clients. So I'll kind of elaborate my story a little bit to touch on those. But my story is really the same, right? But I wanted to make sure that those objections are like kind of pieced, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like a tough love post where you're talking about an objection. It can be in your story, in emotion, right? And then the ending, which is like how you feel now, what the outcome has been, what this has done for you, whether this is the workouts or the meal plan or losing weight or the business opportunity. And even if this we'll talk about this at the end, if you're going to make a post about the business, and even if you're a new coach, or even if you're not at the goals that you want to be yet, or even if you're not at the financial place where you want to be yet, it doesn't mean that you're not successful, right? Or that your story isn't important and it can't help somebody else. And I know that for me, the biggest mistake that I made at the beginning of my business was not talking about the business enough, and not sharing that opportunity for sure. Because if you want to make a successful business in Beachbody, you need to grow a team. You need to recruit builders. You want to have people that want those same things. And I think for a long time, I was afraid to be honest and share like the things that I wanted, about my life financially specifically. So if you're not at that goal yet, if you're still on your journey, whatever that is in coaching and business, you can talk about what it is you want to be at, right? Like, where do you want to go? What is your vision for your life? What is your vision for this business? What is your health and fitness goals? And that can kind of be there, right? So, Ali asked, how many call to actions do you make? So I like to do a combination of what I call breadcrumb posts and call to actions. So I'm still learning the Instagram system, but it seems like a lot of people are doing like one call to action a week. And I don't know if that's what you guys are doing, but it seems like that is how it's on Instagram. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys are doing it differently. I do way more on Facebook. I do at least two. Sometimes I do 3. And sometimes I do, let me just explain what I mean by that. When I say a call to action where I'm specifically saying my next group starts on this date, drop an emoji below, or drop a heart below, or if you're in, DM me, right? Where it's like an outright call to action to a challenge group. I will do probably at least 2 of those a week. Almost all of my posts, though, I almost always end them with a call to action. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm calling them to my challenge group that starts on this day. It may be like a breadcrumb about how amazing I feel and what this has done for me, and how I urge them to make a decision to follow their passion today, right? I almost always follow with a call to action, but it's not always for my challenge group. So at least 2 times a week, but sometimes I make it 3. I have a marketing plan. So I pretty much plan my month on when I'm going to post. And this is something that I can share with you guys too, is that you want to have a detailed plan about what you're posting, right? So besides just the content of what you're going to post throughout the week, you want it to be strategic, right? If you're going to start your challenge group on, Monday, then the week before that, you obviously want to make sure that you're really heavily talking about that challenge group, right? And then if you're going to have a coach webinar or a coach sneak peek at the end of the month, then you want to make sure that that week leading up to that, you're also really talking about that. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that at the beginning of the month, for the first 2 weeks, I'm really heavily talking about my challenge groups. Towards the second end of the month, I'm more heavily talking about coaching and the business. It doesn't mean that I'm not talking about those things throughout the whole month, but I may load my posts. So I may kind of like give like a burst of like multiple call to actions over like 4 days. And it depends on my engagement. It depends on my posts. So if I have, if there's a product launch coming, so when I had 80 day, you guys I don't think you guys were all coaches then. So when 80 day rolled out, it was heavy call to actions. It was heavy energy, heavy excitement. And I blew up my social media for like a whole month, right? And that was successful for me because the energy and the excitement, it creates FOMO, right? And it's like there's a lot of hype about that. So that's something that you kind of want to gauge depending on what your schedule is too. Don't worry, I will get to your questions. So keep them coming. Okay, so I think we talked a little bit about what to talk about. Have you guys done any type of avatar exercise on like knowing who your person is? No? Okay. I'm not going to talk about that tonight, but that's something that I would recommend, and I can recommend to you a call that was done by somebody. But basically, the same applies to Instagram too. So this is something that's really important too, is when you're sharing your story, is knowing who is that type of person that you want to attract, right? Who is your ideal client and who is your ideal coach? So what it is it's basically an exercise that you would do and you would write out, and it's like a brain dump, right? So you literally would take all of these words. What are the words that come to mind about who is that person that you want to attract? A lot of times they are you, right? Pre-Beachbody, or you in the process, whatever they are, or who you're becoming. And it's like, for me, it was, a mom, corporate worker, anxiety and depression, struggles with self-care, loves Amazon Prime, loves Target, loves shopping, but super cheap with herself. She'll spend lots of money on her kids, but she won't spend any money on herself. Constantly like worried about money, like lots of different things, right? And all of these type of words. And you want to take those and make sure that you're like talking to that person when you're writing your story or when you're creating your posts. And Instagram's even like Instagram's really like important to do this too. It's both, right? So it's going to apply no matter where you are. But making sure that you know who you're trying to attract. And it's kind of like your 5 things, but it's really deeper, because that's where you're going to get into the emotion of your story and using words that are going to attract that type of person, right? And so you might be thinking, okay, how am I going to find these people, right? Like, it's not like Instagram where you can go find hashtags and stuff. So there's a couple different ways. On Facebook, because Facebook is kind of created where you originally like basically had all friends. These are people you already know. I teach my coaches 2 different methods, and this is what I did personally to grow my following. I started with probably 300 people I was friends with on Facebook, and I don't know, I think I have like 3,100 now. So this was all done through just adding to my network every single day and finding people. So I always tell my coaches to honestly just start with, it's very different than Instagram, because Instagram is pretty much cold market, right? A lot of the times you're finding people that you have no idea who they are. You don't know them. Facebook is different because you can choose to find people through Facebook that you already know, that are friends of friends. And that's pretty much how I grew my business at the beginning. So I was one of those people where I didn't want to be friends with anybody that I went to high school with. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. But then I realized that there could be really a lot of people from high school that I wasn't friends with that actually maybe I did have in common. And so I started friending people from Facebook that were in kind of the same life cycle as me. So other people, I would go to their, their pictures. You can go through, actually, let me pull it up real quick. Let me screenshot it with you guys. Share screen. Okay. So if you just go to your friends tab, okay, on Facebook, a lot of times the first thing that'll pop up is like suggestions. If you're going to look for friends, it's not actually shown here, but I'll go back to there in a second. But you can find people in so many different ways. Whatever you have in your profile, if you've populated it, you've populated your hometown, your college. I don't like to put where I currently live. I just put like my hometown. I just, there's crazy people out there. So I don't always put the town that I live in. But you can find people. So you can click here. You can find people that went to your high school, current city, hometown. You can go to this Find Friends button, and this will give you a lot of suggestions based on your friends of friends. So they're common friends. So the one thing that you want to be careful with is when you're going, if you see like mutual friends, most of the people that pop up for suggestions for me now are other coaches or other friends of coaches. So I always make sure that, the people that I'm adding aren't, like somebody that's already friends with one of the coaches on my team. And my team is very local. So me and at least 6 or 7 of the girls that are on my team, they all went to the same high school as I did. They didn't go to the same, necessarily graduate the same, but so we have like a lot of overlapping friends. So that's something that I just pay attention to when I'm adding people. Okay. But you can go to the friends part here, and you can actually even just search friends. So what I normally do, I'll go to a recently added friend. If I'm going to look for friends, I didn't add my friends yet today. My whole day is all out of whack. And I'll pick somebody. Let's see this girl. I'll pick somebody. We don't have a lot of common friends. And I'll go to her friends list. She's got me blocked, so that's not going to work. Let me go back. People have different settings, so sometimes people don't let you see who their friends are. Boo. Okay, so I'll go to, this is like a mom, right? She clearly looks like a mom. She has a kid. So I'll go to her friends list, and then I'll find people on her friends list that look like their moms, that have pictures of them and their kids. And then I will try to find at least someone that has like over 10 friends in common. I don't friend guys because they're not my tribe. So I pretty much just go to women. And she does not have a lot of common friends. I know this girl and she's in another business, so I'm not going to friend her. Let's see. You guys get my point, right? Most of the time, I think this is a guy. Let's just say this was a girl though. What I'll normally look at is I'll look to see like briefly, like, okay, how many friends do we have in common? And then I'll look at this list. If these are anybody that I'm friends with, I would click then add friend. And I would do that. I normally do at least 10 friends a day on Facebook, 10 to 20 friends a day. If you're a newer coach and you're expanding your friends list on Facebook, you're going to most likely, if you know these people, they're going to accept your friends requests. Just like on Instagram, it's kind of like you're not always going to get a follow back. So you kind of just have to, take it with a grain of salt. People really want to friend you or not. All right. Another thing that that you can do is using those 5 things that you, using those 5 things about you that you normally like describe yourself with on Instagram that you share with, and finding interest groups. Okay. This has been really successful for a lot of people. And I'll explain to you like an example for me. So I recently started running about 2 months ago, and I started training for a half marathon. And so it's something that honestly, like, I needed help with. I needed get information on. I needed resources. I wanted to know more people that were runners. And so I joined some running groups. And I would post in it, pretty much engage in that group, just like I would maybe like a challenge group, right? And then people would like and comment on my posts. And then as people would do that, I would engage in a conversation with them. And if they seemed like my person, a woman, maybe with a mom, I would go stalk their page. I would send them a friend request. And you can do that in your interest group. So some of my moms in my team, there's mom groups. There's tons of mom groups on Facebook. You just have to be careful because there's tons of coaches in those mom groups. And some of these mom groups are like, they're like your old worst best friend, right? Like they're very negative and they're not necessarily your tribe. So you just kind of have to pick and choose like what the vibe is of the group. But I would say be more specific than just a mom group. What is something that you have that's a hobby of yours? And if you struggle with like, maybe you don't have any hobbies, because I felt like I had no hobbies when I started, then just thinking about something that makes you unique or what you like. There's Target shopping groups. There's if there's like a brand, my coaches like loves these certain purses, and there's like these thrift shop groups that have a certain brand of purses. One of my coaches loves DIY projects. So there's like these DIY projects. Yeah, you're not going into these groups to promote. So they all have pretty much rules. You're not going into the group to share posts about your workouts or products. You're simply going in there to network and make friends, right? And then if they are on your page and then they're going to see your stuff, right? They're going to see you post, they're going to see you share. And then if they're engaging with you, obviously that's an open door for you to have a conversation, just like on Instagram, right? If they're watching your stories, they're liking your posts, that's open game. So it's just the same thing. You don't want to ever go into these groups and say like, hey, join my group, buy my stuff. You'll immediately get kicked out. But yeah, I have just think of all different, there's tons of different groups. Some of them have very specific rules. Some of them don't have any rules. Kind of pick and choose and see, and also know that a lot of these groups also are doing the same thing that I'm just explaining to you. So there are Facebook groups where business entrepreneurs have set up so they can funnel people. And I'll talk about that next. Funnel people to their business. Groups are a very effective way to create relationships. So just like on Instagram, you want the way that people are going to buy from you is when they know, like, and trust you, right? And so you want to make sure that you're sharing that on your social media page, but you can also use groups for you yourself to enhance that. So, for me, at the very beginning of my business, I wouldn't do live videos. We'll talk about live videos in a minute. I hated doing live videos. They terrified me. They still make me feel like I'm going to throw up whenever I do live videos. But I didn't like really share like a lot. It wasn't like stories where they didn't have story features back in the day. So where stories, like, you talk on them, they get to know you. They like, you can really get an idea of who someone is. Like, you can get to know their quirkiness. That wasn't a feature. So you could only get to know so much through someone's story, where what I have done is I pretty much have a system that every single month I offer a free group. So I provide free value for people at the end of the month. And for that 1 week, I give them some type of fun challenge. I invite people from my page. I also use a business page, a like page, and I offer free value. And I personally have done that, and I have grown a group that's, I don't know, it's almost like 700 people in there now. These are almost all, not almost all, majority of them are cold people that I didn't know before, but they came to my page and or their referrals from other people that I have become friends with. And then they get to know, like, and trust me in that group. I was very comfortable doing a live video and sharing me and my quirkiness, doing a video and wearing my headband and having my dirty hair and looking like, this is how I look. This is what I show up in all my videos. This is just me, right? I was very comfortable doing those in live videos in a private setting. And that really empowered me to really get to know people in a group. So what I teach my coaches is to run a free group every single month. And at the beginning, that can start off by just being people that are already on your Facebook page, right? Facebook is less, is more about in engaging in relationships and conversations and getting to know people, than where Instagram is like, here's my page, look at my stuff. You like it, join me, like, let's do this, right? It's more quick, fast, whereas Facebook takes a little bit longer. People friend you more because they want to get to know you, not necessarily because they want to buy something from you. Not that they won't, but they're coming there more to be social, and so they need to get to know you. And so that's why I highly recommend doing some type of free groups once a month. It could be anything. I do like a squat challenge. I do 5-minute live video, if that, for Monday through Friday. I talk about me. I talk about my story. I talk about how, like, I just, like to have fun challenges. I like competition. I like winning stuff. So I give them a challenge of the day. They come in, they, comment on the video, whether they did their challenge. There's like a point system. They can win prizes. And then that's pretty much it. Right. And then I do that once a month. And then what I do though, before I create that, is I'll do a post and I'll say my monthly free, squat challenge. I call it my squat and booty challenge. And in order to be in the group, they need to comment on the post, and I ask them to tag friends. just like you would on Instagram, like tagging friends to get more engagement. And it's been super effective to get all of these people to come into this group that I wouldn't have known otherwise, because people tag their friends. And then if their friends are tagged in the post and they decide they want to join, I send them a friend request. Whether they want to join or not, I send them a friend request. And then I have more people watching my stuff, right? So it's a good way to expand your network to people you don't know, and also to provide some value to somebody. And then after I've provided value to those people, then I invite those people to my paid groups, right? And then once they're in my paid groups, I invite them to coaching, right? So it's like this big funnel where I take people that don't know me and I get them to know, like, and trust me, so that eventually they're gonna buy. And that's a traditional, it's called a sales funnel. It's just the way that most businesses work. They offer some type of free value or really inexpensive value, and then keep offering you, kind of like the challenge pack. Let me just look at my notes real quick. We talked about inviting. Okay, so just like on Instagram, anybody that's liking, commenting on your post, those people, like, you should be inviting, right? Like, if they're engaging with you, invite them. I do cold invites also on Facebook. And when I mean cold, I mean I have so many friends on Facebook now that there are people that I really am not engaging with, but maybe I engaged with them a year ago or 2 years ago, and they're already my friends, but I really haven't had any conversation with them. So I will do cold invites also, but most of my invites are going to come from my posts. I do stories on Facebook too. You can just copy. I just basically do the same thing, save my Instagram stories and put those on the Facebook. And most of my invites, though, will also come from just my conversations. So something that's really, really important is just engaging in meaningful conversation with people every single day. So I have 20 conversations every single day. If you're probably doing this already on Instagram, whether you're commenting on people's stories or engaging on their posts, but these are actually personal messages. So I'll personal message 20 people, whether it's because it's their birthday, whether it's because they've liked to post about my mom post, and I just say, hey, oh my gosh, that story was so funny. Like, how are you doing? Just talking to them about, like, real life. If you're new to Facebook, this is even easier because you can add people that you maybe haven't connected with in a while and just chat. Oh my gosh, how are you doing? I haven't talked to you in 10 years. I haven't talked to you in 5 years. Oh my gosh, I think you're friends with so-and-so. Like, what are you up to? Your kids are so cute. I always comment about kids and them being cute. That's like the easiest compliment you can give to a mom. And they're already going to feel like, I like to message them and then I give them a compliment, right? Because they're going to feel open to me talking to them. And then what I'll do is I'll invite all of those people that I'm having conversations with to my free group. And then once they're in my free group, all those people are going to get invites. So it's kind of like this constant flow and this constant cycle. If a conversation just starts happening, and I normally ask people the questions that I want to know the answers to. So I'll say, oh my gosh, how are you doing? What do you do? Right? I want to know what they do, because then they're going to ask me, what do you do? Oh, I'm a health and fitness coach. I have my own online business. I freaking love it. It's so amazing. I love working with other women. Oh, that sounds awesome. What exactly do you do? Whatever. So asking people questions that you want to know the answers to about them. All right. I think that's most of what I wanted to talk about. Let me look at your questions. Okay. Do you recommend having a like page in addition to your personal Facebook page? Okay. So yes and no. The algorithms have changed. So I can't give you like a really good answer here, because The algorithms have recently changed, and like page posts are way, way down. So I would say if you're going to use your like page simply to just share your story and engage with people, you really want to, the reason why you want to use a like page is if you're going to learn how to effectively run ads and grow your following that way. And if you're going to do it like that, then yes, it's effective, but you need to invest in that. You need to learn how to effectively run ads. I can tell you that there's a training called Social Team Builder that I have done that is phenomenal. It's relatively inexpensive, but it's not worth just having a like page just to post on there and have your friends that you're already friends with be like, you know, like people that like your like page, unless you're going to invest in it. Because otherwise, just like Facebook, if you're going to invest in growing it, you're going to invest in a service to grow it, something like that. There's not really much added benefit. I personally, I run an ad on on my like page for my squat challenge in addition to posting it on my regular page. And I get 50 to 100 people that say they want to go to that challenge. I friend those people, and then I work my personal page. So I really have really sucky engagement on my like page. I don't use my like page the way that some people use their like page. I use pretty much my own personal Facebook page. And I made the decision to invest and go all in Instagram instead of like, because of the way the algorithms are currently right now and how much success people are having in Instagram. I think you're better off really focusing on Instagram and a personal page unless you're going to invest, like I said. We talked about call to actions. What type of posts do you share on Facebook about coaching? Okay, so I like to share tons of breadcrumbs. So I will share about the things that coaching has done for me in story form about something that's happening that day. So, for instance, yesterday I ran my half marathon and we were down at the beach, and my husband wanted to stay at the beach. So he decided to call out of work, and we called out the kids out of school, and we played hooky. And so we stayed an extra day down at the beach. And so my post today was a picture of the beach and how this is my happy place, and how I like just being at the beach makes me feel centered and calm, and like those worry thoughts just go away, and how I'm so grateful that I didn't have to call my boss today, and how I didn't have to worry whether I had enough sick days or whether my boss was going to get mad at me, or when I had to get back tomorrow from work and I was going to have a bazillion emails, because I could find a way to be here with my family and also to make it work with my own schedule, right? Mondays are huge days to post about the business because people have the Monday blues and people are not happy about going to work. Maybe you guys too, right? You hate going to work on Monday. Sunday nights, like you have those, like that sickness feeling like, oh, I got to do this all over again. Share about what coaching has done for you. Whether, you know, I'm a full-time coach now, but I wasn't for, you know, for a year and a half to 2 years of my business. So I would talk about how much the relationships, and that's still huge for me. The relationships are what keeps me here. Like, I mean, obviously my whole life has changed, but the people that I've met, the relationships that I have with people, like I'll talk about that. I went out to, you know, drinks with a girlfriend 2 weeks ago, and I talked about how, you know, we would have never known each other before had I not, you know, given myself a chance to better myself, and how the relationships work. So I'll do that. I also do a call to action about coaching. So I'll literally say, I'm looking for 10 women or 5 women or whatever it is that want to, you know, work on their health, work on their fitness, to empower themselves, to better their lives, that want to create an impact, that want to earn an income doing this. And I'll do that once a week. how do you recruit people and target people? Okay, so we kind of talked about that. So it's more difficult on Facebook to specifically target people with the things that you have in common. So that's why there's an added bonus. Why, if you're already using Instagram, like, keep doing what you're doing, right? You can really find your people on Instagram. So not that you can't on Facebook, but you're not going to find them. They're going to find you on Facebook. They're going to find you on Facebook if you share your story vulnerably and you use words that really describe your emotion and you really pour that into your story. They're going to come to your story. So they're going to like and engage on your post, whereas then you can message them. Obviously, in my personal opinion, I think to be able to find your people, you're better doing that on Instagram, but that doesn't negate that you still can't find your people, maybe just less of them on Facebook. And yeah, just you may not have anything in common with them until you talk to them, right? You don't know. So the biggest thing I look for is like, if they're a mom, if you're a mom, if they're a mom, if you're not, if you're, whatever, if you're, I don't know, you love Dunkin' Donuts, right? Like just that you can only need to have one common thing in common and then have to start that conversation. Do you go straight for an invite after you add them? No, I don't go straight for an invite. I engage with them. I go to their page. I like and comment on their posts. I reach out to them and I say, hey girl, so nice to meet you. Your kids are super cute. Oh my gosh. Like, how old is your daughter? And I get to know them. So I don't straight invite them. Do you ever do boosted posts on Facebook? I do not boost posts on Facebook. I'll run an ad. Well, let me rephrase that. I have boosted a couple posts, but it's not worth your money to do that. You're going to run an ad. You should know that you're spending your money on the right ways. I have boosted posts on both Instagram and Facebook, and it's basically just a way to potentially get extra likes on a business page or followers, right? But there's no way to know that these people are like your people. So it's kind of just trial and error. What do you say if they ask, do I know you, boo-boo? If they say, do I know you? Then I'm like, oh, no, I don't. Actually, I saw that you're friends with so-and-so, and I saw that you're a mom, and I absolutely love connecting with other moms. Sometimes they delete and block me, and sometimes then it's just totally not awkward. If you make it awkward, then they respond awkwardly, right? You only have family really on Facebook. So yeah, if you only have family right now on Facebook, then you want to expand on Facebook, then go back to the basics as a coach. Go to your coach. What is that thing called? Allie, do you know what that thing's called? Memory Jogger. The Memory Jogger. If you go into the Coach Basics, Coach Online Office, there's a document called the Memory Jogger, and it will remind you of things like people that you went to high school with, college with, that you work with, that you, did, activities with at your church, whatever they are, and then finding those people and confronting them. The other thing too is if I'm out anywhere, I always make sure, just like you probably do, hey, are you on Instagram? I ask them if they're on Facebook. Another really fun thing too, this is something that my coach taught me to do. One of my coaches, she is a Boy Scout leader, and she, what she does is anytime she does activities, if she's involved with sports activities, dance, birthday parties, she takes pictures at these parties of the, obviously with permission. And then she'll reach out to the parents, or if she's just talking, chit-chatting with parents, and she's like, oh, I took all these pictures. If you want me to share it, are you on Facebook? I'll create a group and I can add all these pictures and everyone can get access to it. she friends everybody, and then everybody watches her stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, that's genius. I never would have thought of that because I'm the mom that sits in the corner and doesn't like to talk to anybody.
Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky.
It's so good, right? Digital planning groups, yeah, from groups here. I think that's it. Wait, there's more questions. Anybody else have any other questions? That's all the questions that I see.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can unmute yourself. But oh my God, that was a lot of information. Amazing information. I took notes galore, and I'm definitely going to look into that social team builder because you told me that last time and I completely forgot about it. But I would like you to like send me that about the getting to know your avatar. I think that would help a lot of them. I always tell them, just do a brain dump, think of things that, but maybe a visual or a questionnaire or whatever you have. If you could send that to me, I would love to get that over to them. Sure. Does anyone have any questions? Are we all good? I think we're all good. Well, thank you so much for taking so much of your time. It was amazing, and I've got so many good nuggets and cannot wait to start slaying Facebook, hopefully. All right. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much.
Bye. Have a good night.
You too.